Okay, we're live.
Cool. So, we're going to talk today about the about linear games and how we're getting fewer and fewer of them as years go by.
Okay, go ahead.
Let
Wait just a minute. I can't hear you.
what?
No, I can't hear you. Your mic went out.
It did? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, we had somebody just join, but okay. Wait just a second. War Bad Wolf. I see your mic
What did you
moving.
say?
No, we had somebody just join the podcast.
Oh yeah, War Bad Wolf. Yeah.
Yeah. I see her mic is lit up, but I can't hear anything. So, can't you hear?
Okay. She just left.
All right.
All right, no, she's back.
Yeah, I see her mic moving, but I can't hear her.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, man, go ahead and break it down. What you were gonna be talking about today.
So yeah, I wanted to discuss how we're getting fewer linear games now, especially now we're going to the ninth console generation. I mean, like, what I mean by linear games. Like, you said you played a Resident Evil 2 remake, right?
Right.
So yeah, I played that. I put like 40 hours into it. I love that game, and what I liked about it was it was like roughly the main story was roughly 10 to 12 hours, and then you got the side story with Claire that was another like 6 to 8 hours. Then you have all the side missions and all the bonus stuff you can do. That's like took me around 40 hours to complete everything. We're getting fewer and fewer games like those because everyone's so obsessed with making all these open world games and microtransactions, putting and shoving microtransactions into games like, pretty much every game now, popular game, almost every popular game that has like longevity has microtransactions, unless it's like one of those like Souls games like Dark Souls, where it has a very strong fan base. Like I platinum Dark Souls on PS3 and I still play it on PS3 to this day. That game's like 10 years old now, or like 10 years old now. You ever played Dark Souls?
Ah, man, no, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Right. No, I've never played it though.
Yeah, really fun game. So yeah, and what I would like to see is more games that are linear that they focus more on making, like, what I'm trying to say is, back in the day, like on Dreamcast, PlayStation 2 era, we had more games that were linear, and the graphics and all the power of the hardware went to making specific parts of the game look good. Like for fighting games, I remember there's one game called Techromancer. They used all the processing power of the Dreamcast to make the character models look good, and the backgrounds were all like hand painted or hand drawn. I would love to see more games where the attention to detail, where they're able to focus more on attention to detail, like quality over quantity, where they're able to put more attention to detail on smaller things and have to focus on making gigantic, huge open worlds where everything is so spread out that you can't really focus on putting attention to detail on too many things, because then you don't have the time and effort to do that. Unless you're like a multi-billion-dollar studio like Rockstar with Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, what would you say about, like, where do those type of games fit in? I was just about to ask you that question. Like games like Call of Duty, games like Grand Theft Auto, or Red Dead Redemption, where they do have, like, I'll guess you could be considered like a linear style story mode, but then it also has like open world, like online. Like, what would be your thoughts on games like that? Like, say for an example, like Call of Duty, like
Yeah,
Call of Duty Cold
you
War.
mean the single player campaign or like the online?
No, what I'm talking about games like Call of Duty that give you the best of both worlds. Like,
Oh yeah. Well, Call of Duty has like I read that Black Ops Cold War had like 6 studios working on it. They had Ravensoft made the campaign. They had High Moon Studios assisting Treyarch with the multiplayer. They had Beanox developing Warzone or working with Treyarch on Warzone, and they had like Activision Shanghai was working on some other stuff. They like so when you're like I said when you're a multi-billion-dollar company, you can afford to do you can have the best of both worlds.
right? Okay. So you're saying
And
that
I see
we're
this guy's
going
trying
into
to
the
join
wrong
us.
direction. Oh,
I
somebody
see
else is trying
his
to join. Wait just a second. Angel, bottom. Okay, you got Surf Prince. He joined also. We have two new
Up,
people.
buddy.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
Good, good.
Cool.
Okay,
So yeah, we were just discussing how we're getting fewer and fewer linear games as time goes on. You know what we mean by linear games, right?
wait just a second. Who are you asking, me? Or are you talking to Surf
I was
Prince?
talking to Surf Prince.
Oh yeah, I know what linear games are.
Yeah, like have you played the Resident Evil 2 remake?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like for me, one of my favorite Rockstar games is Max Payne 3. That game was like 12 to 15 hours. It was incredibly well made. There's so much attention to detail, and the reason they were able to put so much attention to detail on it was because it was a 12 to 15-hour linear game. Max Payne 3, which I just made a review of on my channel, Hidden Gem Gamers.
Right. Excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. Yeah, but so you're not a fan of open world gaming?
Well, I like them when they're good. I'm like unless they're made by a company that can afford to focus on like when it comes to making an open world game, the three things you have to focus on are combat, exploration, and story. Most studios will sacrifice one for the other, unless like you have to focus on if there's a game with a very good story like unless they're like gonna make trying to think open world Breath of the Wild. I love Breath of the Wild's exploration, but I did not like the combat and story. And I mean, the story was good, but like the characters, they just didn't. I just didn't like bond with them as much as I was hoping to. Have you played Breath of the Wild?
No, I've never even heard of it.
No, Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Okay, Zelda. No, I mean, yeah, I played like an old Zelda game, but not that one.
Yeah, I love Breath of the Wild's exploration, and I'm a big Zelda fan myself, but I'm more of a fan of the shorter Zelda games, or well, relatively short, like Skyward Sword. That game was like 35 to 40 hours. 35 to 40 hours for me is the perfect length for a Zelda game because after that I 100% that game when it came out back on Wii, and it was really fun, and it didn't overstay its welcome, and and the focus was all in the right place. I like Skyward Sword, and my favorite Zelda game is actually Majora's Mask. Ever play Majora's Mask?
Never heard of it. No.
It's the one. It's the one. It's called the emo kid of the Zelda franchise. It's like everyone seen the movie Groundhog Day.
Well, your mic is like going in and out. I'm not sure if you're moving
Have you
around or something.
ever seen the movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day. You have to do same things over and over again, but the way you can do them is really interesting and unique. I really would like to see Nintendo make a game like a Zelda game like Majora's Mask again.
Okay. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, would you say that any open world games got it right? Like, could you like
Yeah,
name any good
Red
open
Dead
world?
Redemption 2. For me, when I play open world games, I'm more of a fan of historical open world games. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like it takes place in America, like in the 1800s, or L.A. Noir. Ever played L.A. Noir by Team Bondi?
Yeah. Wait just a second. Yeah, my mic is
Ever
going up.
ever
Yeah,
played?
yeah. I played L.A. Noire. Yes,
Yeah,
it's a good
the
game.
detective game. That game was like 25 to 30 hours long, with an additional like 6 to 7 hours if you have all the DLC cases. Um, that game was open world, but at its core, it was more like a point and click adventure game, but with some kind of with a basic covers with like a quasi interactive shooting system, but at its core, it's more like an interactive story, and I really liked it. Same with like Assassin's Creed games. The first like 5 or 6 Assassin's Creed games, 1, 2, 3, Revelations, Brotherhood, and Black Flag. I really like those. Those were fun because they were took place like in the past, and everything was historical, and they were based on real life events, and you guys like explore an interesting part of history. Ever play any of the first 6 Assassin's Creed games? 1, 2, 3, Brotherhood, Revelations, or Black Flag?
I played like the older ones, man. I played Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed like 2, 3. Like after that, I kind of stopped. I thought about trying to get back into the games or whatever, but I haven't, man. It's been years
Yeah,
since I touched
like the
some
last
Assassin's
five
Creed.
or 4 or 5 Assassin's Creed games have all prioritized monetization over fun. So it's like microtransactions out the ass. The only like I said, I mean they're still well made for the most part, but the story isn't as engaging in my opinion. And for me, my personal favorite Assassin's Creed is Black Flag. I put like 40, 50 hours into that. Really fun.
Okay.
I personally would have liked to see more Assassin's Creed games that like take place in modern day, but with like but not really modern day, like maybe like the 1980s or 90s, like make it take place in the 80s or 90s, or you can have like it would be like a neo noir style game. That'd be fun.
Right. Okay. Well, Surf Prince, man, are you here? You got like um, anything to say based off of what you heard so far?
What Hidden Gems is saying, it's pretty much set in stone. There's less games that are like Resident Evil type, depending on the number of hours that you put, rather than the other games that recently is coming out. So yeah, he's right about that.
Okay, so I mean, will both of you say that they're going in the wrong direction? Are they going to ever like turn this around, or is this just the new direction for gaming today? It probably, from what I think, man, I think it has a lot to do with the introduction of online gaming.
Yeah,
That has a lot to do with this open world. Why more and more games are focusing on open world because the thing is, like, especially like
yeah,
games like Grand Theft Auto and
yeah. Like unless you're like a huge studio like Sony with God of War, the odds of a smaller studio making a straightforward linear action game that's like 10 to 12 hours long is extremely slim because if you're making a 10 to 12 hour linear action game, people are going to expect it to have like higher quality. Is going to be held to the standard of like, okay, this game costs 60 or $70 now, and it's a 10 to 12 hour linear action game. Is it going to give you the same amount of enjoyment as a 50+ hour open world game or dozens of hours of playing online with in battle royale? So if you're a company like Sony Santa Monica and you can make God of War, which is like one of the best games of the past generation, where it's so incredibly well made, there's so much attention to detail, there's so much lore, there's so much to uncover, then yeah. But the odds of a smaller or like Insomniac with Spider-Man, which was also kind of open worldish, but it was more Insomniac Spider-Man was more straightforward and focused. So it was an open world game, but it wasn't like too open world. Um, I personally like when a developer tries to make a game. I personally was more of a fan of like the smaller games that are more focused and have
less stuff, less padding. Like you know how in the first Assassin's Creed game you could like sneak up behind someone and you can insta kill them. Well, now in the newer games you have to unlock the ability to insta kill them. You can't just do it right away. You have to sneak up behind someone and you have to raise your sneaking stats by performing arbitrary stunts to increase your sneaking stats because it's an RPG. You know, the new Assassin's Creed game, which takes place in Norway, is the Viking game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So now in the back in 2007, when they were focusing on making the game more linear, you can just straight up go behind someone, sneak up behind them, and kill, or no, or you can like, or if you're like, I remember this one thing that pissed everyone off. In 2014's Assassin's Creed, I think it was the one when you're in like Victoria era London. I think I don't remember what it's called, but I remember it was the one where you're in Victoria era London. It was the first Assassin's Creed game to introduce a skill tree. So you couldn't just go up behind two people and insta kill them. You had to earn the ability to sneak up behind people and take out two enemies with one attack. Whereas in the first Assassin's Creed game, you can do that right away. So so now in order to drag out the game's length to make it longer, they make the game less fun. So yeah, that way you have to earn the ability to do what you can do in the previous games right away. That kind of stuff really was annoying.
So what do you? Okay. So what are your thoughts as far as like why is this happening? Like,
Well, like I said, people want to feel like you were saying, Surf Prince, you have something to say?
Oh no, I'm good.
Yeah. So well, like I said, the main reason is unless you're a gigantic studio who can afford to pay $20 million back in 2018, Sony paid 20 million, I think. I'm not sure if that's the exact amount, but I heard someone say that they spent $20 million to promote God of War at E3 by hiring a gigantic orchestra to play really fancy music at E3 for the world premiere of God of War, the 2018 remake, reboot, whatever it was. Unless you're a multi-billion-dollar studio who can afford that level of publicity, and even if the game flops, they've still got billions of dollars. Unless you're a studio that's super huge who can afford to take a risk on a linear game and can afford to pay $20 million to advertise for it, chances are you're not going to risk making a linear game. You're going to make either garbage games for smartphones, or you're going to make an open world game because those games people now want more open world games because they want to feel like they're more justified in paying full price for a game.
well, I mean, the thing is about it, like in the beginning, like when open world, like I'm one of the people that got off onto the bandwagon too of the open world game, and because it's just much. I mean, it just feels a lot more realistic. But I understand, like what you're saying, and but these studios, they're gonna do, they're gonna make stuff. I mean, it's a shame that it always boils down to money. You know,
Yeah,
it's less
yeah,
about
it
the
does. Yeah,
fun and the
well, almost like
quality of
not
something.
always, like 95% of the time it does. Um, like I said, if even if God of War had flopped, Sony has enough money to um to to risk it. So the average studio with a modest budget is not going to risk making a straightforward linear action game with it's only like 10 to 12 hours long if they don't think they can market it well and get millions of people to buy it. I mean, hell, even Rockstar with Max Payne 3 just barely broke even with that game. Back in 2012, I remember it sold barely 5.6 million units. Now, 5.6 million units may sound like a lot for a normal person, but for Rockstar, though one of the largest game companies in the world, 5.5 or 5.6 million units isn't that much. So they risked it to make Max Payne 3, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I love it to death. And I really wish they'd do like a remake or a fourth game or a prequel or any new Max Payne game. But
because Rockstar, one of the largest companies in the world, they just barely broke even with Max Payne 3. I don't think that they're gonna make any more linear games anytime soon. Max Payne 3 was Rockstar's last linear game. That was back in 2012.
Okay, so I mean, man, I'm trying to figure this out. I mean, as far as like, man, I mean, how is this gonna change? Like, how?
I don't know. Have you played any of the Max Payne games? They're really
Yeah,
great.
long time ago. Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah, and Remedy's newest game, Remedy, the developers who made the first two Max Payne games before selling the rights over to Rockstar, their newest game, Control, was incredibly well received, and I love it. I put like 40 hours in that game as well. It was well made, and it had a really good story. It had good exploration, really fun combats, and it was also very well, like I said, very well paced, and had a lot of fun. It was really fun. It wasn't as it Control was really. Have you played Control?
Control.
Yeah, the one by the Remedy, the guys who made Max Payne 1 and 2. Control. It came out I think back in 2019.
No, I've heard of it. No.
It's a really fun game, and like my personal favorite Far Cry game is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. I remember that game. I got that for you like
Right,
2 years
I still
ago.
have it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that game was like 6 to 8 hours at most, but it was super fun. And
because they were able to take away all the stupid stuff in the base Far Cry game. Like you no longer had to increase your ability in resistance to fall damage. Since you're now like you're a robot, you no longer have to take fall damage. And most of the stuff that you had to like spend like 10 hours unlocking.
you're given right away. Like you can insta kill bad. You can automatically chain kill bad guys by sneaking up behind them. If you're behind like 3 or more bad guys, you can sneak up behind one and you can chain kill the next bad guy by pushing the melee button right away. Whereas in the base Far Cry 3, you had to earn the ability to chain kill, which took like 10 hours to unlock. And it's like the shorter games are the ones that are more focused and to the points, but they feel like if they make them shorter, it's not gonna justify the price. Same with you ever played any of the Infamous games?
Yeah, yeah.
Infamous Infamous 1, Infamous 2, Second Son, and First Light, and the or yeah. My favorite Infamous game is Infamous First Light. Ever play First Light?
Yeah, I played it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a $15 downloadable game. It was roughly 6 to 8 hours the main story plus 10 hours if you want to do all the side missions. But it was super fun, had a cohesive story. It wasn't scatterbrained, and it set out what it accomplished what it was trying to do. It wasn't so like I said, it wasn't scatterbrained, and the story was actually more personal. Whereas in Resistance, I think which was the one that takes place in Seattle, the one for the PS4 game, which came out like one of the launch titles, I think.
Oh man, I couldn't tell
Was
you.
the Infamous Second Son? I think was the one where you have power over fire and smoke. Yeah, whatever. That game, like the game Infamous, the one that came out back in 2014, that Infamous game. That game, I absolutely hated the story for that game the one that came out back in 2014.
But see, here's the thing, man. You know, one of my problems with linear games and why I've always been like a fan of at least like open world, but not necessarily just open world video games. Like if you're gonna have like a linear story mode, I just like to have online gaming because like there's a lot of games that have like really good story modes. Like I was playing a Mafia 1 remake. And man, like the story was really good. Like it almost felt
Yeah.
like, I was watching a movie. But the thing is, like after you put in like say 15, 20 hours into beating the game, then it's just like, man, you almost feel cheated because there's like nothing else to do. I mean, there's no online mode. I mean, the only thing that you could really do is just to play the game again, like play it again and put it on a higher difficulty or something like
Yeah,
that.
so do it like what I would do is like ever heard of an asset flip?
No, I haven't.
An asset flip is when you take existing properties from one game and put them in another game but like you take assets from one game, put them in another game. Like Resident Evil 2. That game uses the same environments in different scenarios. Like there's those like special missions, those side missions you get to do. There's like I think there's like 5 or 6 of them. Like there's one where you're playing as a sheriff in the convenience store. There's one where you're playing as a SWAT team guy in the sewers. They take environments from the game, assets that already exist, and they do something special with them. Like they do something interesting with them. They don't create new assets. They take existing assets, but they do something interesting with them. So, like, have you played any of the special modes in the Resident Evil 2 remake?
I haven't even been able to finish that game yet, man. To be honest, I haven't had the time to really put the effort into it. It was a real good story so far.
It was. So yeah, so
After you beat the main mode, there's like a bunch of special modes you can unlock. You can do there's this one mission where you play as a SWAT team guy who has to escape a sewers and evacuate the Raccoon City. There's one mission where you're, like I said, you're playing as a sheriff in a convenience store. You have to fight off like 100 zombies, and you have to kill them all. And then there's this one mission where you play as I think Claire, or not Claire. Sorry, you play as some other guy who has to escape the police station as it's being infested by zombies. Then there's a bunch of side missions that are really fun. And like one of my favorites, like I said, my favorite Zelda game, Majora's Mask, that was like an incredibly huge asset flip. Have you played Ocarina of Time?
Could you repeat that?
Have you played Ocarina of Time?
Man, your mic it's like going in and out. It's getting low and it gets louder. I don't know what's going on.
I said, have you ever played Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time. I've never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Zelda.
Okay, Zelda. Like no, remember like I was telling you, man. I'm only more familiar with like the first couple of Zeldas, like Zelda games. Man, I haven't played Zelda in years.
Basically, what happened was, after Ocarina of Time came out back in 1998, Nintendo was given 18 months to make a new Zelda game for the Nintendo 64. Now, 18 months obviously wasn't enough time to make a new game from scratch, so they borrowed assets heavily from Ocarina of Time and reincorporated them into Majora's Mask in a way that made sense. You're going to a parallel world where people are similar to the people you met in Ocarina of Time, only now they're different because you're in a parallel world, and it made sense with the story. It didn't feel like a lazy retread. It felt like something new, despite the fact that most of the game was an asset flip.
Okay. Yeah, man.
I mean, developers get called out now for being
lazy. I think the reason why so few developers want to do asset flips is because they're going to be accused of being lazy. But I mean, I would rather be accused of reincorporating assets from one game than be accused of trying to bilk my franchise with microtransactions.
Okay, Surf
That's just me. What?
Yeah, but
you've been quiet all this time. Do you have any games you like that are kind of like asset flips, like Majora's Mask or Infamous First Light or Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, anything like that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
My thing is, man, you're throwing out a whole lot of terms that I've never even heard of. So
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how would I even recognize that in the game?
Yeah,
like
more
or less like remakes is what you're saying?
Have you played the base Far Cry 3?
The base Far Cry 3? No. The first Far Cry I've ever played was the Blood Dragon. That's the first one.
Yeah.
See, for me, man, Call of Duty, once that came out, man, that killed a whole lot of games for me. Like seriously, I put so much time into that game. No, when Call of Duty,
Call of Duty, yeah.
Once I started getting into Call of Duty, man, that really killed like a lot of different games. Like I used to try out all type of different stuff. But man, I just you know how like Fortnite, how that's like taking over and stuff now, man. That's what Call of Duty did for me. It just really just killed my interest in buying a lot of different games. Like
yeah, I think like Jim Sterling said it best in his video is the death of mid-tier games. We're getting fewer and fewer games with a modest budget because people are too afraid of experimenting. Your game either has to be an indie game with an extremely low budget that can afford to take a loss, or a big huge game with a huge budget where they can focus on doing lots of like cool things. we're getting fewer and fewer games where people are just experimenting and having fun.
Okay, would you say the same thing would apply for PC gaming? Because PC games, man, they have, it's been a minute since I've actually gamed on PC, so I haven't been taking a look at what's out here like in early development at this time. But I know PC has a lot more to offer.
Yeah, I know, especially with emulation. So Surf Prince, are there any games that you like that are shorter and more concise and less like open world and grindy?
I don't know. I want to say the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, that's
or
a great
perhaps,
game. I love
or maybe the Last of Us 2. But aside from that, I don't know what other game.
Okay, I could. Here's
Cool.
the thing. Let me look at my library. I'm gonna just name off a couple of games so you can kind of tell me like what category that they fit in. Okay, what about you ever heard of a video game called A Way Out? It's like a prison
A
break.
Way Out. Yes, I've heard of it.
Okay, what would you say? That's more like of a linear.
Yeah,
type of
I've heard
game.
a lot of good things about it. I didn't get a chance to play it yet because I'm getting I'm getting my computer rebuilt with new parts, but I'll definitely try and pick it up soon.
Oh, it's really good, man. You have to play with two people. Like you have to have like a friend to play.
Oh yeah,
It's like a
yeah, that's the one where
split
you're trying to escape a prison, right?
Yeah, it's really good, man. It's a really good game. That one. What about the Outlast
Yeah.
series? Like the Outlast 1 and 2. I'm just going through some of the games
Yeah,
that I actually own at the moment. Have you tried those out?
yeah, I've heard of Outlast. I might have played it at one point. I think oh yeah, have you ever do you ever play the campaigns for Call of Duty?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Most people just nowadays just look at the campaign as as a necessary add-on used to market and show off the game's visuals and like all the exciting parts about it.
Well, I mean, to me, the stories are just so good on the Call of Duty campaigns. That's why I play 'em.
Well, yeah, most of it except for Ghost. Ghost was
Yeah.
terrible.
Right. Yeah. But like, just like, so have you played Cold War? Have you played this campaign?
No, I have not played Cold War yet. I haven't got my PS5 yet, and like I said, my computer wasn't powerful enough to play it, so I had to upgrade it. It's gonna be upgraded next week.
Well, it's really good, man. It has a really good campaign, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
At
I
least
know.
that's my
I've heard a
opinion.
lot of good things about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's real good, man. It's just, I mean, well, it just depends, man. If you're into the military type of stuff, man. I'm into the special ops military. That's why I play so much Call of Duty. Like, I love war games. For some reason, I love
Yeah, I
them.
mean, me too. I like them. I like good war games I like war games when they're good.
I'm just going through some of my other stuff. What about this vampire game? It was called Vampire. Are you familiar with that?
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
Okay.
Wait, you played? You remember that game I got you like 2.5 years ago called I Am Alive?
Yeah, I still have that. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the PC version doesn't work properly, but the console version is still really fun. That game was also like 4 to 6 hours, and if you want to do all the side missions, it was like 10 hours. So that's another fun game, which we're probably never going to see any more of because Ubisoft is more is. I mean that game barely even got made. That game started development all the way back in 2003, and it just barely got made. It released as a downloadable only title in 2012. So that game barely even got made.
Right, yeah, it's definitely really good, but yeah, like you were saying, man, I was having like even when I had it and tried it on the PC, man, it had a lot of bugs, like
Yeah.
buttons wouldn't work, like I mean, man, it was
So yeah.
crazy. But I remember that game when it
So
first came out too. I remember that game way back when it was a demo, I believe. I'm trying to recall, but I remember that game way back, like you say, years ago. When it first,
yeah.
I think it came to console. I can't remember. Did it come to PlayStation 3 or?
Yeah, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that like I said, unless nowadays, unless you want to make like an indie game, unless you have like a lot of money, you're better off just making indie games. Like which is not. I have nothing against indie games. They can be fun. Like Among Us was a smash hit, and that game was, and like the average game of Among Us is only like 20 to 30 minutes at most. You played Among Us, right?
Wait a second, Among Us. No, I've heard it. Wait. I'm trying to. No, I can't say I have. No. Among Us. No.
Among Us, it's the one where one person in a group of 8 or more people is an imposter trying to murder them, and the others are trying to find out who it is.
No, I haven't played that. No.
I'm surprised. It's a really fun game. The average game lasts like 20 to 30 minutes per match. The average match, I should say, lasts around 20 to 30 minutes. There's like I think 3 maps, but it's even though it's incredibly repetitive and you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's only 20 to 30 minutes. It's well made enough and to the point where it has a good staying power. So you don't need to have games that are like 50 hours long to have staying power.
Right. So okay, is that a place? Wait a second, is that like a console game or is that PC?
It's on PC and smartphone.
Okay, so it's not a console. All right.
I'm not that I'm aware of. It might be, but I don't know. So yeah, it's a really fun game. And hey, so Surf Prince, don't feel shy about anything. If you have anything interesting you want to contribute, feel free to contribute whenever you want.
I think he's kind of.
Okay.
Are you at work?
Oh no.
Okay. So as far
Checking
okay,
on-
I have a question. So as far
Just
as
checking on my order. Sorry about that.
oh yeah, everything's fine. Now I have a question for you. So as far as like right now, what type of games are you into? Like right now, what games are you playing right now that you find enjoyment? Yeah, like what are the main?
Well, right now I've been working on a book. I'm actually doing a lot of writing. I haven't really had much time for games, but I've been watching a lot of videos on some of my friends made. I've been also doing a lot of video editing. Like I said, I just last week I just uploaded my video on Max Payne 3, my Max Payne 3 review.
Yeah, I gotta take a look at it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I also have I'm trying to think. Any game I've been playing? I've been playing a lot of the old Call of Duties like Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 on PS3. Because those people are still playing those games, even though pretty much the only thing you can play online is Team Deathmatch. They're still really fun. It's still fun to play a Call of Duty game where people just play for fun. They're not obsessed with spending thousands of dollars to unlock the next skin for your gun.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I personally would love to see a campaign remaster since they're going to do it's pretty much confirmed that they're going to do a campaign remaster for Modern Warfare 3. I would love to see them do a campaign remaster for the original Black Ops trilogy, World at War, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 2.
Right, yeah.
Have you ever played World at War?
Oh, you know what? That's the man. It's funny that you mentioned that. World at War. It's two different things that I'm gonna say special about World at War. For one, it's the first Call of Duty game that I ever played. World at War. That's
Really?
what got me into Call of Duty. The story mode was just amazing. I mean, the online gameplay was fun, and not only that, it's the first online game that I've ever played. It's the first time I've
Really?
yeah. World at War. I went and rented it actually from a Blockbuster
Well-
when we used to have it for the PlayStation 3. It was the first time I ever played online.
Yeah. Well, for me, what made World at War special was 3 things. One, the gore. It was the first, and dismemberment. It was the first Call of Duty game to feature dismemberment. Like you could shoot someone with a shotgun in their legs would blow off, and you would watch them writhe in agony for a few seconds before they died. And also this like no other Call of Duty game has done that now, because that was back in 2008. If you made a game now where you can shoot someone in the leg and blow their limbs off, and they would writhe in agony for a few seconds, then people would say that's too violent. We can't have that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they're gonna
The second thing that made it.
Wait.
Yeah,
They're
I would like to
remastering
see them do,
Modern
because
Warfare
they already
3?
remastered all the zombie maps and the multiplayer maps for World at War in other Call of Duty games. So I would like to see them at the very least do a campaign remaster for World at War, because World at War, in my opinion, is the best World War II shooter I've played. I can remember playing.
Yeah, it is for sure.
The second thing that made World at War really memorable for me was the unapologetic campaign, like the way that that the characters would do things. Like, I made a review for World at War. In my World at War review, I point out some of the key differences. Like, in Call of Duty, the newest Call of Duty World War II game, the one that came out back in 2017, just titled Call of Duty World War II, there is a scene where you capture armed Nazis, and the game encourages you to keep them alive because to keep them prisoners. So after you can capture them alive, and the game encourages you to keep them alive, to keep them prisoners of war. In World at War, when you're playing as the Russians against the Nazis, there's this one scene where where you have a choice to either where a bunch of unarmed Nazis have surrendered, and you have the choice to either shoot them to death or light them on fire. So you can already tell the difference in tone there.
Right.
Yeah, like World War II, like Call of Duty World War II was just so like pure and like so in your like I wouldn't say like I wouldn't necessarily say pure. Sorry, not pure, but I would say it was too Hollywood. You play as the Americans the entire time, except for one level where you play as a French woman, and there's like the super happy ending where you go home to your family and you celebrate Thanksgiving or someone's birthday or whatever, and you're reunited with your pet dog, and everything's happily ever after. Whereas in World at War, you have to live with the consequences of your actions. There's one scene where when you're fighting the Japanese in Shuri Castle in Okinawa, where your commander, your Sergeant Roebuck, he tells you to let the Japanese who are surrendering to keep them alive and let them live. And as they're surrendering, they do a kamikaze attack. They pull out a grenade and they blow themselves up. So you letting them live causes them to kill your teammates.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that game had a lot of emotional weight to it, despite the fact that it did not have any third person cutscenes. It didn't have super high production values. Just the story itself and the characters in the story weren't the most well written, but they did what they were trying to accomplish, which was portray war in the most organic and unapologetic way possible.
Yeah, I'm actually playing Call of Duty right now as we speak. Did you play the campaign mode for Modern Warfare? Remember the latest one, the one that came out?
Yeah, I played it. It was okay, but around the halfway point, it got really stupid. Like, have you played you're talking about Modern Warfare 20, the 2019 reboot, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty good up until like the halfway point. Then it got really stupid. Like, there's this one scene where you're a woman who's being held captive, and you manage to free like 5 of your captive friends, and you and a team of 5 women who have been held captive and tortured for months are now suddenly have the strength and willpower to fight off hundreds of soldiers with tanks and helicopters all by yourself and win. And like that just felt like they were trying to like do. It felt like they were trying to be all like like I don't know. I wouldn't really say. It just felt so fake. I mean, there's no way 5 women who have been held captive and tortured for months are going to suddenly be able to have the strength and willpower to after they get freed to fight off hundreds of men and armed soldiers and helicopters and tanks and win. It just felt like it was too. Oh, we want to show how powerful these people are because you're the main character and you're a strong leader. Yeah. Okay. There's a difference between suspension of disbelief and suspension of insanity, and that just broke it for me. That one level.
Right. Yeah, I kind of.
Do you remember the level where you're playing as the main woman who gets held captive and you get tortured, and then you free all the other women? Remember that level?
Yeah, I kind of recall that. I can't. I'm not 100% sure of the exact part that you're talking about. I like when you play like little children. Look, Infinity Ward. There's a difference between suspension of disbelief and suspension of insanity. 5 women, no matter how strong they are, no, not even women, 5 people who have been held captive for months are not going to have the willpower and the strength
to fight against an army of people with bazookas, helicopters, and tanks and win. It's just not possible.
Right. So you're
I mean,
saying
hell,
it's
even in
just
the
not
original Modern
realistic
Warfare,
enough.
what?
So you're saying it's just not realistic enough.
Yeah, exactly. Even in the original Modern Warfare, the one that came out back in 2007, I recently I loved Modern Warfare Remastered is one of my favorite games of all time. I platinumed it. Have you have you played the 2016 remaster of Modern Warfare?
Yeah, I played every Call of Duty. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, I love that game. Yeah. So I just recently got up. I platinumed that game. I love that game to death. But there's just one level where you're playing as I think it's called Heat. It's where you and 6 other guys manage to take down like half the Russian army and win and live. It was just ridiculous. And that was in the original Modern Warfare game that came back in 2007. Even back then it was kind of ridiculous. I guess they were. But that was with 6 elite specially trained SAS commandos, whereas in Modern Warfare 2019 it's 6 women who probably have very little military experience, who have been tortured and held captive for months, who now have the strength and the power to fight off against hundreds of guys and bazookas and helicopters and tanks. It was just it just felt like they were trying to push an agenda, like, oh, look, we can portray these people, we can I don't know, it just felt weird.
So what's your thoughts like on the first 3 Call of Duties, like Call of Duty 1 through 3? Have you ever played those?
You mean the first 3 and the originals from like 2003 to 2005?
Yeah, the originals. Yeah, the first.
I never. I played the first Call of Duty game when it came bundled with Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. They released it for PS3 in 2009. I think it was good for its time. It had a lot of charm put into it, but the enemy AI was abysmal. Like the Nazis, they ran around like chickens with their heads cut off half the time. And but I did like the story. Like in the first Call of Duty game. Which was there's this one level where you're playing as Russians on a boat, and all the Russians who have you ever played the first 3 Call of Duty games?
Yeah, because like once I got off into Call of Duty like that, I went back to like GameStop and purchased like the first 3, and went through them and played them and stuff just to see how they were. Yeah, actually, I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of the Call of Duty franchise, so. They were pretty good, if you ask me, coming from a person who's like really a fan of Call of Duty games in general, and like military combat. So, like I said, like you were saying, man, they were pretty good for the time period. Of course, they don't compare
Yeah.
to games, that Call of Duty is making.
Yeah. Well,
today.
I think the artificial intelligence for the first Call of Duty game was extremely lackluster, but the story and the presentation was what made that game good. Like I was saying, there's one level where you're playing as a Russian, and you're on a boat crossing some kind of river, and the Nazis are shooting at you, and whoever jumps off the boat gets killed by their fellow Russians. For a T-rated game, that was incredibly ballsy. I mean, I'm not sure if they were aiming for a T rating, but for a T-rated game, having a mission where you're forced to kill your own comrades for deserting you, that was incredibly ballsy. That was well done. Do you remember that?
Well, that man, dude, you remember a lot when it comes to games, man. A lot of that
Yeah, I
stuff.
know.
Like it's been years, man, since I played like those Call of Duties. All I
Yeah.
remember is it was just it's a whole lot. It was a whole lot different than what we have now. I remember riding around like on the Jeeps, to where you ride around.
Yeah. For me, I remember there was Call of Duty 1, 2, and Call of Duty 3 sucked, but there was. I remember the expansion pack for Call of Duty 1 called United Offense, where you play as the Canadians. That was a good expansion pack. I remember ever played. It was the Call of Duty United Offense expansion pack.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I didn't even know that they had it because, like I say, I wasn't even into Call of Duty back when it first came out. I didn't really know nothing about
Yeah,
it.
I think you can get it on Steam now. On Steam now for like $6 or $7. It's called Call of Duty United Offense expansion pack.
I'm gonna look that up real quick, man. I would like to take a look at that.
Yeah, that's when I think you're playing as the Canadians and as the as the British. It wasn't the first Call of Duty game you're playing as the Americans and the Russians, but in the expansion pack you play as the Canadians and the British. So that I remember that was a good one. That was a good expansion. Call of Duty 2 Big Red one was pretty good. I like the fact that that one had like your teammates were constantly dying and you had to like in the game was like okay your teammates are dead, just move on. Nowadays in a Call of Duty game now, whenever one of your teammate dies, they always make a big deal out of it. Like oh my god that guy died, we're gonna make a big deal out of it. In Call of Duty 2 Big Red one, whenever your teammate died, like oh your teammate said okay well continue mission go and they wouldn't like drown they wouldn't like harp on it for like 2 hours.
Right, they make it like you say over dramatic. They make it over
Yeah, over
dramatic.
dramatic. I mean, like, yeah. So say what you want about the OG call, the original call, the first three Call of Duty games, but they weren't like the most technically advanced, but they did know how to tell a really good story with good presentation values and feel like a real war game. Nowadays, most of the Call of Duties now are so like I don't know if it's in a word, but like Hollywoodified. Everything feels like a Hollywood movie.
Right. So yeah, okay. I see what you said. I forgot I was gonna ask you something. I can't remember. I kind of lost my train of thought. Um, well, man, I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Just keep going, man. Let me think about what I was gonna ask you.
I got a question
Yes.
for you.
What is it? Surf Prince?
Yeah, I got a question for Gotti.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you prefer Call of Duty over Battlefield?
I personally do. Now, when I first got off into Battlefield and started playing it, then I kind of shifted over just because I had been playing Call of Duty like every year, and after a while, man, it just becomes just redundant. It's just the same old thing, chasing people around in a small map. And what I liked about Battlefield was the big open world. It made like the combat seem a lot more realistic, especially the fact that you could like flying jets and um, you know um, you had tanks, and all those type of things. But like Battlefield 5, man, I really think that was really a big flop. Battlefield 5, man, I'm not a fan of it. I bought it, I paid for it. Battlefield 1, when that came out, that was a wonderful game to me. I mean, the graphics were good. It was just like real fun. But this last Battlefield, man, I regret even spending money on it, man. Like it's really like if I could give it away, I would seriously. But I have like the digital copy. But man, if I would take that thing back. I'll post it on eBay, man. That game was a huge disappointment to me, seriously. So I know at this point, no, I definitely wouldn't say. Even then, I couldn't say that Battlefield is better than Call of Duty. They're just two different. They're two different styles of game. They're both fun in their own right. But what about you?
Personally, I prefer Call of Duty. I never was a fan of Battlefield. I mean, I like Battlefield 5, but it's just not as fun as Call of Duty.
Like I agree with you, man. I like the older Battlefields. I believe I first got into Battlefield that was Battlefield 3. That one I really liked. I liked it because
Oh,
you know it,
Battlefield 3 is the good one.
it was just a change. Like it was a change of the way that I play war games. That's what was so good. I wouldn't necessarily like try to compare it to Call of Duty, but like even Call of Duty came out with I forgot what's that one mode, not Warzone, but the other mode where you could like drive the tanks and all that type of stuff. I think they implemented that in the Modern Warfare remake that came out. I can't recall, but yeah, I've actually streamed that before or whatever. I like open world, military games, but Call of Duty, I don't know, man. It's just something to me. The graphics mean a lot in the video game for me. Like I don't like the graphics in Battlefield 5. They just look just a lot more generic. Battlefield 1 was like, man, it was on point. But it's almost that they downgraded it like with Battlefield 5. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people that like Battlefield 5, but I know a lot of friends, that I used to play Battlefield 1 with. I like Battlefield Hardline. That was pretty cool. Where you play as like the cops and robbers. That was pretty cool. And then Battlefield 4 was it was okay. Wasn't all that. But Battlefield 1, I would say, to me was my favorite. Just because of how crisp the graphics looked. But other than that, man, I wish I could give away Battlefield 5, man. Seriously, I tried to like it, but I just can't. Call of Duty graphics are just blowing it out the water. And that's really what I look. That's what I look for. I mean, because that's why I had gotten to a point to where I started renting video games. I started renting video games because I got tired of, being disappointed. Like, man, I would go purchase a video game and get it home, and it would be nothing like the trailer. Like, the trailer would, show, like, all these cutscenes make the game look real good, and then when you get on it, it's just nothing. It's just like, just crap, in other words. I hate when video games do that. Seriously, I hate when video games, like, when they come out with these trailers, and it's like false advertisement.
Yeah.
Anybody agree with that?
Well, what most of them tend to do is say product subject to change, and that's how they get away with it.
Yeah, I remember they did that. What's that? The Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands. Man, I remember when they were first showing that game, when they first announced it, and they were showing like gameplay, and that stuff never did even make it into the game at all. So it's like false advertising, man, just getting people's hopes up. For something that's never going to happen. But it's probably got a lot to do with the limitations of console. That's what I heard. That has a lot to do with the limitations of the power of a console versus like PC. So that's why I got off into PC gaming. But only thing I dislike about PC gaming is like you have to constantly keep upgrading your system. Like every new title that comes out, like every huge new title, man, you gotta upgrade your processor, graphics card, more RAM. It's just like almost becomes like a money pit. But that's just my personal opinion. And then they have like, what's that new processor that's out right now? Is the 2080 Ti? Is that the new? I mean, the RTX.
That's not a processor. That's the graphics card. For processors, the new one is the Intel i7 or i9 11th generation. I'm more of an AMD person, so I just got the AMD Gen 4 5900X. So are you thinking of processors or graphics cards?
I'm thinking of graphics card. My bad. I said it wrong.
Yeah, they just released the 3070, 3080, and 3090, and the 3080 Ti is coming out I think next month. It's going to cost $1,000.
Yeah, but one thing I just because all right, like when I go on these different blog sites, and I hear people complaining like they'll have the best processor, whatever's the most current graphics card, like all of that type of stuff, and then they're still experiencing problems. Like they're still experiencing problems on video games. Like they're still complaining. It's just like, wow, what the heck? I mean, you would think like if you have like the top of the line stuff, man, the game should run flawlessly, wouldn't you think? And I just hate like it's not universal. It's not universal. Like they'll have some games that are for these type of graphics cards, then others are for this kind. Like I like having a system like that does it all. That's the beauty of console gaming for me. One system that'll play every game,
Well, I'm gonna leave in like 10 minutes. Okay. So for the next 10 minutes, does anyone want to say anything about like what would you like to see in a linear game? What kind of linear game would you like to see more of? I personally would like to see more like I said, that game I gave you, Singularity. I really like that game. I like to see more games like that made by Raven Software, who have made lots of linear shooters in the past.
Okay, here's a game. I'm not sure. Okay, has anybody ever played a game called Playboy? The Playboy Mansion video game. Anybody ever played that?
I don't think so.
It was on PlayStation
I
2.
remember.
Yeah, you play
I
like
remember
as,
that game.
yeah, you play like as the Playboy. What's that guy? I can't remember. Hefner, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you play kind of like a
Hefner.
Hugh Hefner, and you went out and got these girls to take photos. So you're not familiar with that Spaz?
I've heard about it.
Okay, yeah, it's a whole game for PlayStation 2, I believe, like the original Xbox. I want to see. Ah, man, that's a good question that you asked. That one thing.
What I want to see.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. Sorry. What I want to see more is more exclusive games for the PS5. Like, for instance, God of War 5 is coming out sometime maybe this year, but
God of War
that can't
Ragnarok.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can't be like the only exclusive game aside from that in Horizon. There has to be more exclusives.
I would like to see
That sounds like something we should do for the next podcast. We should title it games that games that should make a comeback. That sounds like a funny idea for next podcast. Games that should make a comeback.
I would like to talk about games that I would like to see be developed, because I would like to see.
Yeah, oh yeah. What kind
video-
of games would you like to see developed, Gotti?
I would like to see, like, I was just thinking of this. I would like to see like a video game. Okay, like I'm a fan of Madden, right? I would like to see a video game to where you start off like in high school when you just work your way up to try to get into the NFL, like a story mode based type of game, not online, like a football game,
Yeah.
or like a boxing game or something like that, to where you start off like in high school, playing football, and then you have to do different things and training mode work, to get your get your character
I
up.
think they have some like. Ever heard of Miniclip or StickPage.com?
No, I haven't. No, I have to take a look at it.
They just recently got rid of Adobe Flash, so it no longer works. Adobe Flash.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, there were like back in the old days, like back in like mid 2000s, there were so many Flash games, and I remember there were one where you're playing as a kid in high school who has to like sneak around and get like and steal and copy answers from another kid while the teacher's not looking. It was like a stealth game, really fun. I think that's another thing we could talk about. We should talk about how we're getting fewer and how we're getting more. Developers are pressured to make bigger and bigger, more ambitious games, whereas the old fun games are no longer available. We're not focusing on making fun games anymore. We're just focusing on making like these big masterpieces. Games can't be fun anymore. They have to be so competitive and like so big and grandiose. That could be a good idea for our next episode. What do you think?
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, when would you like to do it?
I don't know. When are you available?
Ah, man, I mean, let me see. Weekends are good.
Okay, so next Saturday at around 4. Is that a good time?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Cool. So next Saturday at 4, you can talk about how developers are being pressured to making bigger games, and it's causing them to like, and because of the like all these people who are being pressured to make bigger games, we're getting fewer and fewer more original ideas, and fewer like fun Flash games. Like did you ever play Flash games back in like mid 2000s or late 2000s?
Okay, when you say Flash games, you're talking about on like PC style type of games?
Yeah, on PC, like games that use Adobe Flash.
Yeah, like they're kind of like the real small like type of games. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they were super fun. And
Yeah.
we're not going to get those anymore because I think, I'm not sure, but for some reason Adobe Flash permanently closed down.
Wow, what happened?
I don't know, but last year something happened which caused them to close down. So now none of the Flash games work anymore. You have to go to a BitTorrent site to emulate the Flash games now, and it's a pain in the ass.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I had fun this time today. Hopefully next Saturday we'll have more people and we'll be able to talk more about a broader variety of things. I hope that you all had fun too. Any final thoughts?
Man, I would just say, man, good show, man. I'm glad that I would have liked to have contributed more, but we definitely have to go like a topic of what we would like to see in gaming. That would be something I'll be able to contribute a lot more into. Like seriously, that would be a topic because that's something
Okay,
that me and my friends talk about like all the time about the type of games we would like to see designed. Like that's
well,
why
I'll
like
see you next
Prison
time.
Break
Okay,
game. Okay, man. All right, take care, man. Thanks.
you too. Bye.